What is going on, college basketball fans? Today we got our Week 7 Power Rankings, aka the Dannyology Power 35 Rankings. As always, we are doing these every single Monday morning, so make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new because we do a ton of college basketball content here on the channel. And yeah, guys, let's go. Alright, so here are the Week 7 Dannyology 35 Power Rankings, and we have the same number one team. And before I get into explaining all of it, I will say 7 through 15 are all like super close. If you guys wanted to switch a few of those around, I would definitely hear you guys out on those. But very, very close, like 7 through 15. My top 6 I'm pretty solid on. But yeah, 7 through 15, you could really move those around and switch a few of those teams if you wanted to. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on specifically that range of teams. But UConn is my number one team. I think there definitely is a debate for Purdue to be number one, but in my opinion, UConn has won every single game by double digits. They did it again against Butler, a Butler team that's pretty good, and they did struggle throughout that game. It was low scoring, but then at the end they made a big time run and really pulled away. And this team is very capable of doing that pretty much any time in the game. They got a really deep bench. Sanogo showed you guys again why he is one of the best centers in college basketball as well. And this UConn team staying at number one for me. They look really legit, and I'm not sure there's not many teams in the Big East that are going to be able to beat them. So I don't see them getting too many losses this year. I could see maybe Xavier, Marquette pulling one at home over UConn. Maybe Creighton if they start to get back, but other than that, I don't really see anyone putting up a big fight with UConn. I could possibly Providence at home. That's a good environment there. But UConn is going to be easy sailing all the way to a number one seed in March, in my opinion. At number 2, we got Purdue, and I definitely, like I said, I think there is a case for them to be number one, especially after that big win Gonzaga just got. That just shows how impressive their run was there in the Phil Knight Legacy Tournament, where they defeated Gonzaga, Duke, and West Virginia, all in my top 35 by double digits. And I'm not going to deny it. That was a very impressive win. But I think the only thing that's really factoring the difference between these two is Purdue's win against Nebraska in overtime. They needed overtime to get that one over a bad team. And I know you can't really hold them for one game where it was on the road, and they did still come out of that game with a W, but whenever UConn is dominating every opponent, that's kind of the difference between 1 and 2 at this point. But they are kind of like 1A, 1B. I could definitely see that for sure. But Purdue, the clear number 2 team in the country for me. At number 3, we do have the Houston Cougars, a big-time bounce-back win over Virginia in Charlottesville. I mean, that is a very impressive win because that is Virginia's first loss of the season, and they did it on the road after just losing at home to Alabama. So they needed this win. They needed that signature marquee win, and that's the Houston team we kind of like thought, okay, they're one of the preseason favorites to win the national championship this year, and they're back up at number 3 for me. They looked really good in that win this weekend. At number 4, we got Kansas, and Kansas has been looking outstanding lately, and they got to be up here in the top 5. I mean, I was watching over the last few games. They're putting up 90 points a game. They beat Missouri by 30 on the road. They beat Seton Hall by 30, and they just beat Indiana by around 20 points at home. And Allen Fieldhouse definitely helps in that game, but still, Indiana is a top 20 team for sure, no doubt about it, and they whooped up on them. And Indiana, I thought, they could have some troubles, but Kansas, even without a very solid big man, were able to not let Trace Jackson Davis get going too much. So I thought that was very impressive. Daquan Harris Jr. is one of the best defending point guards in the country. Grady Dick is an offensive star. And Jalen Wilson, of course, is a superstar as well. So Kansas looking super good. They're up at number 4 for me now. At number 5, we got Arizona. They got a big win over Tennessee, and Tennessee definitely had their opportunities to win that game, especially when they made a late push in that game. They were starting to come back. They had a chance, I think, to tie it or take the lead with a 3. And then they had a terrible backcourt violation trying to pass to the center on the wing, and he just was not paying attention, was not expecting the ball at all. Got a backcourt violation, and then Arizona kind of made a push there in the final 2 minutes or so. And Tennessee definitely had their opportunities to win that game. And I thought Tennessee did not play bad, and we'll talk about them later. I didn't want to move them all the way down to 10, but teams just that were playing good and got good wins had to move above them, so they had to go down to 10. But Arizona's up at 5, back-to-back, very solid wins for them against Tennessee and also Indiana. So they are up at 5. I think only moving up like 1 or 2 spots for me from last week. I had them pretty high last week as well. At number 6, we do have Virginia, and Virginia, tough loss there to Houston, but they're still in that game. I still think that they are a top 10 team for sure, and they're still my top ACC team ranked. Still a lot of championship potential there for the Cavs. At number 7, we do have the Texas Longhorns. Even without Chris Beard, they got Rodney Terry there. They're 2-0 with him as the interim head coach, or whatever you want to call him at this point. But yeah, Texas, they didn't play anyone too great in those 2 wins, but they got it done. They beat Stanford on the road, I'm pretty sure. So good to get it done there. They're staying up here at number 7. They got those few really good wins there early in the season. At number 8, we do have right behind them another Big 12 team in the Baylor Bears. They haven't really been playing anyone too good the last few games, but Big 12 play is about to start, so we're about to learn a lot more about Baylor, about Texas. Can Kansas keep this offense going whenever they're going up against all these really good defensive Big 12 teams? So we're about to find out a lot about the Big 12. Right now I got 3 teams in the top 10 and a few more down the line here as well. At number 9, we do have Gonzaga, and they got a big win over Alabama. It was a neutral site in Birmingham, Alabama, so technically kind of a road victory. I'm not going to say it's a complete road victory, but still very impressive. They were able to go in there and put up 100 on Alabama's defense, and Alabama has a pretty good defense usually. I know North Carolina also put up 100 on, but that was in 4 overtimes. So yeah, very impressive for Gonzaga. That Gonzaga team that just beat Alabama is scary if they can be that team heading into March. But yeah, Alabama, they didn't look bad either. In the same situation kind of with Tennessee, I didn't really want to move them down to 11, but teams had to move up above them, including Gonzaga after beating them. Brandon Miller is a absolute superstar, man. He dropped 36 against Gonzaga. Still not enough for the Tide to get the W, but Tennessee, they're in here at number 10. They're still my top ranked SEC team. I thought that they didn't really have a slow point in that game against Arizona. There's sometimes where they just take some bad shots, but I thought overall they played a really solid game against Arizona. They played a really good defensive game against an Arizona team that usually puts up around 85, 90 points a game. So I thought Tennessee played pretty good defensively on the road, and like I said, they had opportunities to win that game. I didn't really want to move them down too far, but teams just had to move up above them. But they can definitely continue to move up again if they get some bounce back wins here next week. Same with Alabama. Brandon Miller, 36 on Gonzaga. That is crazy as a freshman. He's killing it, but was not enough to get it done against Gonzaga. So they're here at number 11. At number 12, we do have Arkansas, and they haven't really been playing anybody. They just kind of fell due to teams having to be above them. And at this point, I would still say Arkansas, and Arkansas fans will probably be mad at me for this, but I'd still say Arkansas is probably the 3rd best team in the SEC right now, just behind Tennessee and Alabama. And it's interesting to think about because Arkansas has way better tournament success than Alabama and Tennessee. But as of right now, what I'm watching on the court, and the Brazil injury doesn't help, I don't really rank teams lower just because of injuries, though. But just based on what I'm seeing on the just based on what I'm seeing on the court, I'd say Tennessee and Alabama are slightly above Arkansas. So Arkansas is coming in here at number 12. At number 13, I do have UCLA, and I'm getting pretty hyped about this UCLA team. They go on the road in Maryland. That's not an easy environment to play in either. They're in College Park, so big win. They dominated from the start in that one, and then continuing on their road trip. After going on the road in Maryland, they go up to Madison Square Garden and defeat Kentucky on a neutral site court. And I thought that was very impressive of a road trip there for the Bruins. So they're all the way up here at number 13. I really like Jaden Clark there for UCLA. He's really stepped up this year. Also, the freshman Amari Bailey. Jamie Yaquez had a big game against Kentucky. Tiger Campbell, a really good veteran point guard. They have a solid squad there at UCLA, and don't sleep on the Bruins. I know they had the few early losses there at the start of the year in that tournament to Virginia and them, but UCLA is a solid team. At number 14, we do have the Duke Blue Devils, and Duke, it stinks that they're up here or down here at number 14, and same with Wisconsin, which we'll talk about in a second. But they've been playing pretty good as of late. But at this point, the teams above them just look a little bit better, and but yeah, Duke still up here at 14. I still think they're a very solid team, and depending on what happens with the teams above them, I could definitely see Duke being pushed up here very soon. And same with Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been playing amazing recently, like good wins over Marquette, Iowa, and against Maryland the past few games. And yeah, Wisconsin's up here at number 15. Top 15 back-to-back weeks for me are the Badgers. They're my second ranked team in the Big Ten, just behind Purdue for the second week in a row. At number 16, we have the undefeated Mississippi State. They struggled this week, only won by like 2 points against a not-so-great team, but they are still undefeated. They are a really good defensive team and are really well coached, so I'm excited to see Mississippi State up against some of the top higher level teams in the SEC, like against Arkansas, like against Bama, like against Tennessee, even against Kentucky. I really want to see this Mississippi State team play against some good competition. So we're going to get to see that soon. I'm excited for that. So at number 17, we do have VTech, and Virginia Tech has been playing really good recently. Definitely deserve to be a top 20 team in a power rankings list like this one, because they are dominating teams, man, and they're playing really good offense. I'm really starting to get hyped about this Virginia Tech team as being one of the top teams in the ACC for sure. At number 18, we do have Illinois. They're around the same spot as they were last week. They didn't really do anything special this week, but they got a win. And still, that loss against Penn State really doesn't help their rankings. That's why they fell down here, and they're staying down here around 18. But this team definitely has potential, and they've shown that against whenever they got the win over Texas. They are on a neutral site in Madison Square Garden. That was a big win, but they just need to stay consistent, and I definitely think Illinois could be a top team this year. At number 19, we have TCU. They're starting to turn up a little bit. Ever since that bad loss to the year, they've been the bad loss at the start of the year when they had the injuries. They've been undefeated ever since. They just really haven't played anyone too good. Their best win is probably against Iowa. But yeah, TCU, excited to see them get into Big 12 play. Few wins in Big 12 play, and they will skyrocket up this list because they are looking very, very solid right now. At number 20 is Indiana, and they got back-to-back tough losses by quite a bit to both Kansas and Arizona. And they're still staying up here at number 20 because I still think, with the teams behind them, they'd still probably beat them. They just lost pretty badly to my number 4 and my number 5 teams in the country. So they're still up here at number 20, and they did beat my number 21 on the road in a close game, so that kind of makes sense as well. At number 21, we got Xavier, and Xavier's been playing really good as of late. I'm a huge fan of Sully Boom there at point guard for Xavier. I think that he is one of the most underrated stars in college basketball. Big fan of Sully Boom. Xavier's in here at 21, and right behind him, another Big East team, we got Marquette. Marquette's been playing really good basketball as of late. If they would have got the win over Wisconsin, I definitely think Marquette could be a lot higher, but they're in my top 25 this week up at 22. At 23, we do have Kentucky. They're falling just a little bit, a few spots after that loss to UCLA. And I am pretty high on UCLA, so I don't fault Kentucky too much. But Kentucky's yet to really get a big win. I know they got a win over Michigan, but Michigan's not even in my top 35. I don't know about this Kentucky team. They need to get some big wins. A lot of people are kind of calling for Coach Cal's head right now because he's unable to win these big games. So that's kind of interesting, but they're here at 23 still for me. Let's see if they can start to get some big wins in conference play. At number 24, I do have Memphis. Memphis has been playing really good lately. They did lose to Alabama this week, but it was a very close game, and it was on the road, so I was still kind of impressed with that one for Memphis. And then they got a win over Texas A&M. It was closer than it should have been, but Memphis got it done, and they're in my top 25 this week here at 24. At number 25, we do have the College of Charleston. Still only the one loss on the year to North Carolina. They did get a big win over Virginia Tech this year. They're in at 25. At number 26, we do have the Maryland Terps falling out of the top 25, and that's because they got back-to-back losses this week. One there to UCLA, which they just got dominated in, and the other one being to Tennessee, which they started to come back in that game, but they just look tired. We'll see how they bounce back from this. But Maryland, I still think, is a very solid team. We'll see if they are able to rack up some wins and climb back in these rankings, but still in here at number 26. At number 27, we do have Miami, a team that lost pretty badly to Maryland, but Miami has been playing pretty good as of late. Isaiah Wong looks like he could be a really good player. I mean, Isaiah Wong is a star. He is playing super well as of late, and I'm definitely keeping my eye out on Miami. So they're in here at number 27. At number 28, we do have the undefeated New Mexico Lobos. They've been playing really good lately, and especially because San Francisco just beat UNLV, so that win they've had over San Francisco, they beat them by like 18 points, is looking a lot better. Look out for the Lobos, man. They're undefeated. At number 29, we got the West Virginia Mountaineers, and they got a few wins this week, staying there at 10-2. Their only losses are to Xavier on the road in a close one, and to Purdue on a neutral site. So West Virginia looking really good. I'm excited to see how they play in Big 12 play. They're kind of like I'm saying this as a WVU fan, they're kind of like a poor man's UConn. They play a deep team, 10-man deep, and they got a really good bench there, so West Virginia's in at 29. At number 30, we got Arizona State. Arizona State only the one loss on the year. They got a good win over Creighton last week. Got another win this week. They're in here at number 30. At number 31, we do have San Diego State. And San Diego State, they've been kind of up and down. I feel like they've been kind of inconsistent. I still have them in here at number 31. I still think they're a really good team. They still have that really good win over Ohio State as well early in the year. I think that that's holding a lot of weight in these rankings for sure. But at number 32, we do have North Carolina. They got a big win over Ohio State. But let's not get too excited about North Carolina yet, because let's not forget they barely won that game. It took a 1-second catch and shoot fadeaway mid-range contested by Pete Nance at the buzzer to force overtime and for them to win in overtime. And yes, their stars did have a big game, but they still almost lost. So I feel like a lot of people are kind of pushing North Carolina up the rankings a little bit too fast. But I only moved them up about 3 spots. I think I had them at 35 last week. They're up at 32. I'm going to pump the brakes on North Carolina. I'm going to need to see a little bit more consistency with this team. Another big win for me to really skyrocket them off the rankings just out of nowhere. But right behind them is Ohio State. Like I said, they barely lost that game in overtime. It took a crazy shot by Pete Nance, and credit to him for hitting it, but just to force overtime. So Ohio State's coming in at 33, right behind North Carolina. At number 34, we have the undefeated Utah State Aggies. How about Utah State, man? They're in the top 35 this week for the first time. And also at 35, we do have Iowa. They got a few wins this week. Nothing too special, but neither did the teams that were also in competition for this 35th spot. So Iowa is coming in here at number 35. I do think they are a really solid team. They've been getting some wins without Chris Murray. And Chris Murray is an absolute superstar as well. So I also really like Perkins for Iowa. I think he is a really good shooter, a really good player there for the Hawkeyes. Teams to look out for, teams that are on my radar to move into the top 35 maybe next week if they can get some wins. Michigan State's starting to look pretty good again. They should get Malik Hall back here soon, who is a big piece to that team. Don't count out the Spartans for sure. St. Mary's, they got a tough loss to, I think only a 2-point loss to Colorado State, which is why they fell out of these rankings. I still think they're a really good team, one of the best mid-major teams in the country, if not the best mid-major team in the country. St. Mary's is definitely up there. Look out for them. Kansas State, they only have the 1 loss to Butler, but then that's not such a great loss. We'll see how they do in Big 12 play. They got West Virginia at home, I think, to open up Big 12 play. So if they can get that win, they're on my radar. So I'm looking out for Kansas State. Also Rutgers. I think Rutgers is a lot better of a team than their record says at this point, but their record is really what's holding them here out of these rankings. I think they're a really good defensive team. Caleb McConnell, Amorie there at center. Rutgers has a solid team. Penn State also on my radar. Some other ones to mention: Iowa State, Auburn. I know Auburn just lost to USC. They didn't look terrible though. It was a close game. But yeah, those are some other teams on my radar. So let me know what you guys think about my rankings, what you agree with, what you disagree with. I want to know it all down below in the comment section. Yeah, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new. We do a ton of college basketball content here on the channel. Power rankings are out every single Monday morning. We do the college basketball podcast every Thursday night. We're streaming every Tuesday, Saturday as well. And videos almost every single day here on the channel, all about college basketball. So definitely join this awesome community we have here. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.